Taylor Swift does not care at all what I think, and quite frankly, she doesn't care what you think either, if you like her album or not. Hello, and welcome into another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. And we're all fatigued, right? Because Love is Blind is back. I've never felt crazier watching something than I have season 9 of Love is Blind. And we're going to get into episodes 1 through 6 in the deep dive. But of course, we have other things to talk about. My dog's losing his marbles. It's like clockwork. The Amazon man just has to show up every single time I push play. The Patreon girlies know. I don't even edit it out of the Patreons anymore because it's like part of the aura of the show, I feel. But anyways, before we get into all the other stuff, the Taylor Swift of it all and Dancing with the Stars and the Diddy Sentenced, I got to give you the top of the show rant. I can't believe that it's already October 9th. Can you believe that? It's crazy. Honestly, I kind of feel like I'm in a bit of a fever dream. Do you ever have those moments in life where everything revolves around one specific moment? You know, you're like, oh, it's 2 weeks from my wedding, or it's 3 weeks from my baby shower, or whatever. I'm that way with this nasal surgery, which is happening on November 20th. Which is in how many weeks? I don't know. I say that I'm like counting down the minutes. I am truly, because I should be sponsored by Vicks Vapo Cool. I'm not. Which I don't know if you've ever had the Vicks cough drops. You might get like a contact high because there's so much menthol in there, but it works like a dream. So I have them on standby. Anywho, I'm just counting down the moment. That's my one life moment right now, where I'm planning everything around this nasal surgery. Not even BravoCon, which is a week before. I did just order some BravoCon outfits. None of them fit. So, you know, just striking out from all angles. I have a new hobby that I picked up over the past couple of days. It's creating furniture mood boards. I don't know where this came from. I don't know how it bubbled up in me. I got a Canva subscription and now all of a sudden I'm into making living room mood boards, but I've been doing it with my house all week. So, I mean, thankfully it's helped me decorate a little bit. I would recommend it to you guys. If you have no idea how to decorate your house, because we're still trying to put everything together over here, get Canva, use the background remover, and put a little mood board together. Or honestly, I'm having so much fun doing it that if any of you are like, hey, Morg, I need some help. Here's the colors I like. Send me a DM. I might paint you up a mood board. Not a nude board. Two totally different things. One of which I'm very comfortable with. The other, I am not. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this week's Pop 3 biggest headlines in reality TV and pop culture. The life of a showgirl is here. Taylor Swift's highly anticipated 12th album is here, and it's got mixed reviews. Some Swifties love it. Some Swifties don't love it. Y'all know I'm not a Swiftie. But I did give the album a couple listens over. And even though I'm not a Swiftie, even though I'm not looking at the Fate of Ophelia music video for the 100 Easter eggs that Taylor Swift said she put in it, I understand that some of you are, I can appreciate Taylor Swift's ability to cultivate an audience because, like, we've never seen anything like it, right? Truly. And, you know, after listening to the album a couple times, I'm just being straight up with you. It's not my cup of tea. If it's your cup of tea, amazing, right? I'm more of a midnights type of gal. Maybe a midnight, you know, a little bit moodier. Hello, like the purple. It just speaks to me a little bit more. But don't worry, Taylor Swift does not care at all what I think, and quite frankly, she doesn't care what you think either, if you like her album or not. She did an interview with Zane Lowe of Apple Music. She says, I welcome the chaos. She says the rule of show business is if it's the first week of my album release and you are saying either my name or my album, you're helping. She says, in art, I have a lot of respect for people's subjective opinions on art. I'm not the art police, she says. So Swifties, don't be the art police. Then she says, it's like everybody's allowed to feel exactly how they want. She says, what I often love seeing my fans say is I used to be someone who didn't like relate to reputation. And now that I've been through some other things in my life, that's my favorite album. She says, I'm playing for keeps. I have such an eye on legacy when I'm making my music. I know what I made. I know I adore it. I know that on the theme of what Showgirl is, and all of this is a part of it. Okay, so I get it. And I will say, talked about this week on Seriously. David and I talked about the Taylor Swift album on Seriously. There's one song in particular, I think it's called Wish List, where she says something like, I told myself I didn't believe in marriage. That was a lie. I feel like a lot of us can relate to that because as women, we're often told that having a partner is only going to drag you down. We see it play out on reality TV a lot where you have these ambitious women, successful women, and the storyline is always that their guy is like, pulling their belt back, to go wherever it is that they want them to go. When Taylor Swift said, I didn't believe in marriage, but I realized it was a lie. It's so true because when you find the right person, the right person never holds you back. They propel you forward. And I learned that with David. I did feel that way about all my ex-boyfriends, right? Like they are killing me, but that's just because they were toxic. and I was toxic too. Like, don't get it twisted. Back in the day when I was a girlfriend, I probably wasn't the best girlfriend ever. But when you meet the right person that you're supposed to be with, it really does just all fall into place. And I know that's so corny and you're like, Morgan, what? It is what it is. I'm just telling you the truth, okay? Because I love you. And it is what it is. I will say as an outsider, as a Swiftie outsider, coming into this album, y'all were telling me Taylor Swift is a poet. She's a lyricist. All these very deep meanings to her songs and everything is connected with each other. And I believe you when you say that. I did not get that from this album. I think a lot of Taylor Swift fans can kind of agree. When you're singing, "This Isn't Savage" in a ballad, I'm not really sure. When you're saying that you girl boss too close to the sun, it's not for me. And that's okay. It's okay. She's in the la-di-da phase of life, which I love for her. The la-di-da phase of life is actually the best because you don't really care about anything and anybody else. You're happy. And it's taken her and me and anybody else who's been through this life and has now found their happily ever after. It takes a long time to get there. You got to kiss a lot of frogs to get there. So trust me, I love la-di-da. Happily engaged, Travis Kelce. I just wasn't expecting this album to sound the way that it did. There's some bangers, don't get me wrong. And we can also be like, it's kind of like liking a housewife for one season and not another. I like a couple songs I hate. It's okay. It's okay. There's some people though in the comment section that are like, Morgan, you have to see the movie. No. That's where I draw the line. I ain't seeing the movie to understand the album. It's just not happening, okay? Let's move on to headline number 2. Hilaria Baldwin was eliminated on Dancing with the Stars last night. It was just a matter of time, right? We all kind of suspected that she was going to be kicked off. So I wasn't really surprised by the elimination. I was surprised by how good she was. She's one of the best dancers on the show, but it all boils down to the fan base. I mean, especially because the scoring on Dancing with the Stars is so wackadoodle. It's all over the place. Everybody's like 1 point away from each other. When you have Whitney and Mark who look like they could take Broadway at any given moment. And I love Andy. You guys know I've been voting for Andy. But then you have Andy who like shuffle 3 steps to the right, shuffle 3 steps to the left, and is getting the same scores as Jen Affleck. It's just the scoring is all over the place. So it really does come down to it being a popularity contest and a fan base voting for you at home. And there are a lot of people out there that do not like Hilaria Baldwin and don't like Gleb Savchenko, to be completely honest with you, for different reasons. Right now, the talk of the town is Gleb in his former relationship with his former dance partner, Brooks Nader. If you watch Love Thy Nader, you know, didn't paint Gleb necessarily in the best light. And then you have people that really don't like Hilaria Baldwin because of the story that surrounded her in 2020, where some people felt like she was misleading about her ethnicity, right? Kind of being vague about whether she's from Spain, Mallorca, or from Boston. You know, and sometimes having a Spanish accent and sometimes not having a Spanish accent. You know, she did say, let me see, I'm not reading my notes. I'm just going off the cuff. You know, she did say she's Boston born, but spent a lot of time in Spain growing up and called herself culturally fluid. Said that her accent changes depending on which language she's been speaking and the context that she's in. So, you know, I'm not here to judge, but I'm just saying some people really don't like her because of that. And in order to get far in Dancing with the Stars, especially this season where it's chock full of talent, you have to have people rallying behind you and supporting you. So can't necessarily say that I was that surprised, but it also begs the question, should the judges on Dancing with the Stars be giving a little bit more in-depth scores? You know what I'm saying? Because they're judging people based on the best they can do, not who is the best. You get what I'm saying? Like we saw Andy Richter get 3 6s this week. I think Alex Earl got like 3 8s. So 2 points. I mean, when you compare the dances in your head, they're like night and day, not even close. And I love Andy, you guys. I already told you I vote for Andy. You cannot separate them by 2 points. But that's what happens because the judges are in this bind now that they have all of this wide range of talent, where back in the day, it used to be nobody has any dance background. You all start on the same foot and we see who works their way up to being the best. It's not the case anymore. So, honestly, the judges' scores really don't make any difference. Okay, let's hard pivot into headline number 3, the Diddy sentence. So Diddy was sentenced to 4 years in prison. This was following his trial, and in July of 2025, a federal jury found him guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. And then he was acquitted of the more serious charges, which included racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. If you're not caught up, I don't know how. But of course, there's an NPT episode about it. So just search it. You'll find it. So this was October 3rd, last Friday. A judge sentenced him to 50 months, which is 4 years and 2 months in federal prison. But he's probably not going to serve that much time. I'll tell you why. But he also faces a $500,000 fine and 5 years of supervised release after serving the prison term. So first of all, he's been detained since his arrest, which happened in late 2024. So he will get credit for time served already, reducing the remaining time. So like, when is he roughly going to get out? It says here he could realistically serve around 3 years total before release, because he could also get off on good behavior, meaning mid to late 2028 is like a plausible out date. Prosecutors wanted 11 years, calling Diddy's crimes systemic abuse of power. And then the defense pushed for just over a year, saying his conduct was consensual adult activity. So the judge split the difference, saying that Diddy showed a pattern of manipulation and control, but like stopped short of labeling him as a trafficker, right? So the judge emphasized the video evidence and multiple victims' testimony as justification for the mid-range sentence. And it's not over because, of course, he's going to appeal, right? Like, he's Diddy. So his attorney already said they're going to appeal, arguing that the judge was a 13th juror. That's a quote, right? By relying too heavily on what they call disputed evidence. So appeals in federal cases can take 12 to 18 months, and he would remain in custody during that process. And of course, it wouldn't be 2025 if Diddy didn't ask Donald Trump for a pardon, because that's just what everybody does these days, is they call up Donald Trump and ask for a pardon. Donald Trump says he's reviewing the facts. Like, Are we in more of a circus? The answer is no, which leads me to the deep dive, Love is Blind Season 9. Truly one of the it has left me speechless, this season of Love is Blind. Because who are these people and what is going on in Denver, Colorado, that this is the cast? It's truly a mixed bag, right, of personalities. In this season, we're going to talk about episodes 1 through 6. I know that a few more episodes dropped yesterday, but honestly, like getting through those 6 episodes, I need a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to get back to it. But where do they find these people? Denver, obviously. I'm going to kind of go through some of the bigger storylines and the pods, and then go to the connections, and then go to some things that have played out on social media after episodes 1 through 6 have aired. Let's start with the 2 people that completely poof, vanished, gone, ghosted out of the pods, Blake and Anna. So it happened once. It happened twice. They dangled the carrot in our face that it was going to happen a 3rd time. And when the 3rd time came around, I think it was Sparkle Megan, which you're 35 years old, Megan. Why are you calling yourself Sparkle Megan? Anyways. By the 3rd time, I was like, okay, this is a shtick. Like, they were sitting in the boardroom saying, how can we make this season of Love is Blind a little bit more interesting? Oh, let's have a lot of people not show up to their pods. But the 3rd one was just a dupe. But the 1st and 2nd one actually really happened. The Irish goodbye coming from Blake and Anna. So Anna said, based on interviews afterwards, which I've read them all, unfortunately, a lot of it was public pressure. She's like, I'm having all these really deep conversations, touchy subjects, and I don't really know if I want that up for public consumption. Right? Then she says, my parents are immigrants. I take care of them. They don't really understand what I'm doing. They don't really understand why I can't answer my phone, and I'm worried about them. So she says all of this kind of hit her like a ton of bricks in the middle of the night. She's crying. She's in her sweatpants. She's cried so much that her eyes are swollen shut, which I have been there, done that, puffy eye syndrome. If you know, you know. Us criers out there. I get it. She's like, I didn't want to be on camera in that moment because I couldn't even open my eyes to see because I was crying so much. I understand it. I do. However, wait until the morning, say goodbye to your connection, and then bow out gracefully. I just feel like leaving is completely just up and leaving is so odd. And she wasn't the only person that did it. Here comes Blake, and for, in my opinion, a way lesser reason, right? He says, I just realized that this wasn't really realistic, and I wasn't going to propose to anybody. I wasn't going to get married on the show, so I'm just going to bounce. But you know what that tells me? That actually tells me that his connections in the pod, he wasn't really connected to any of them. Because if you're falling in love with somebody and you really care, you at least let them know what's going on. You don't just leave. Blake didn't even tell Sparkle Megan that he was leaving before he peaced out. Why? It's because he didn't really like her. I'm just saying. And he said he's like, oh, I regret the way that I did it. Well, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. But that doesn't... and I'm like reading their interviews and I'm trying to put myself in their headspace, right? Because I'm sure it has to be a whirlwind experience. But I'm like, under no circumstances, if I really care about somebody, like if I'm talking to David on the other side of a pod and I'm really starting to fall for him, I'm not just going to say nothing. It doesn't make any sense, right? Like it really doesn't make any sense. So let's start with Sparkle Megan, because in the pod, she had 2 connections, Jordan and Mike. I did not like Mike from the get-go. Mike was always trying to play mind games with her. He's her typical type, right? The rich type, real estate investor. Reminded her a lot of boyfriends past. Mike's always trying to plant seeds of doubt in Megan's mind about Jordan, pushing the narrative that Jordan might not be the right fit. And it's like at that point, I would have done the America's Got Talent buzzer, 4 X's, bye, Mike. You're out of here. Because anytime these people, this is like a tall tale sign of insecurity. Anytime that any of these people are in the pods and they bring up another connection and how, oh, I know that person's not right for you. You don't know anything. Do you know my middle name? Do you know my favorite color? Like, no, you don't. So don't pretend like you know that Jordan is right or wrong for Sparkle Megan. What you know is that you're feeling insecure that Megan has another connection. You see him, she doesn't, right? So you're like sizing up this guy and you're like, I don't get it. It's not yours to get, Mike. So beat it, scram. And ends up he did because she ended up picking Jordan, which I still don't see them lasting. It's just my personal opinion. They get engaged, they go to Baja, and Jordan's acting a fool in Baja. You got speechless. When am I speechless? And I'll talk about it. Literally in every single couple that we're getting ready to talk about, the ick that I feel for all of these men, I'm like, we got to get these girls away from these men because what are they doing? I mean, drunker than drunk, okay? And I get it. I'm not here to sit here and be like, you should. You're on national television, global, actually, television. Like, have a little bit of decorum. Have a little bit of decorum. It was just giving frat boy energy all around. And I was like, I would be so out of there so fast. Oh my gosh. It just took me back to the days where your boyfriend's slopping all over the place. And I'm like, I do not miss those days. I don't miss those days at all. There's Allie and Anton. And you're like, who? Right? And they're the most normal people on the show, right? Which means they get no screen time. We saw them get engaged first. They got engaged in the first episode. And honestly, that's pretty much all we've seen from Allie and Anton. I'll come back to them in a little bit. We have Madison and Joe. Madison is a UX UI designer who shared early in the pods that she has, you guys, I can't say all these big words, retinitis pigmentosa. I think I said it right. I'm sorry if I didn't. But it's a degenerative eye condition. She says, I might go blind, and I wanted to do this experiment to see, someday I might lose my eyesight, and someday this might be the reality if I don't get engaged and married on this show. This could be the reality of my dating experience. So she's connecting to something deeper in this moment, and Joe just wants to be on TV, quite frankly. Joe, he's a sales professional. He was in a serious, committed relationship before. That didn't end up working out. I believe they were the second people to get engaged in the pods on episode 2. At the reveal, they see each other. And Joe admits that he struggles to reconcile the emotional version of Madison he connected with in the pods and with the physical reality. He says she feels like a stranger at times, which Casey says that too about Patrick, and I'll get to that a little bit later. He also makes comments like Madison's not his usual type. He, at one point, says that he typically goes for thinner women, which is obviously very hurtful to say to somebody. And then they go to Baja and things intensify. I'm just hoping they never go to Baja again because, the matches were being lit in the pods, and then it's just like they threw it at Baja and everything just exploded. In Baja. Okay. Anyways, so at the pool party, Joe is also just 3 sheets to the wind, extremely drunk. He leaves Madison, goes to take a nap. Later, Madison finds him disoriented, repeating questions she had asked earlier, clearly not fully coherent. I have 2 thoughts about this. First of all, Madison was kind of acting like he was dying. It was kind of a lot. But I have to imagine that she might have been partaking in the sauce as well. So, maybe she wasn't also reacting in a normal way. Which, don't get me wrong, the dude was so annoyingly drunk that I can't say that I would not be completely annoyed with him as well. But did she think she was gonna have to call the ambulance or something? Something else was going on there. Joe laughs it off and then he recovers. And then I read this interview where Madison says it was way worse off camera. She says, as soon as we were told that the cameras were off and dinner was coming, he popped up out of bed. It seemed like he was completely fine. And that's when I had just had it. And I was like, get out, get your own room. If you can pop up now and talk and you're all bright and chipper when the cameras are going away, that's not going to fly with me. Okay, so there's a little bit of maybe more that meets the eye there. And then Joe acknowledges that he overindulged and that emotions are high in the experiment. And again, we get the ick, like every scene that comes by, I'm just like, it's ick o'clock, apparently, which brings us to Calabria and Edmond. I had high hopes for them. And then again, it all goes sideways in Baja. In what I honestly thought was a huge temper tantrum coming from Edmond, because he couldn't have sex with her. We'll get there. So KB's a social worker. Edmond's a realtor. They bond early in the pods over shared vulnerability. KB opens up about forgiving her father. Edmond shares parts of his own emotional history, how a teacher really saved his life. And they have this really strong, really deep connection. There was no doubt in my mind that they were going to get engaged in the pods. And again, I really liked them together until we got to Baja, like what was in the tequila there at Baja, because they hit this huge tension point around physical intimacy. KB had clearly stated that she wanted to wait until marriage, a boundary that she says, I told you about this before I proposed. But then he gets around the pool party, all the lit boys who can't even tell you their partner's first name. At this point, they're like, Twinkle Maggot, you know what I mean? Like, can't even formulate a sentence. Edmond gets around these other guys, and everyone's talking about how their intimacy, I wanted to say journey, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but anyways. And Edmond's like, well, I'm the only one that hasn't had this experience with KB. And then later in the night, they have a conversation about it, and that confrontation really escalates. Edmond questions why KB is withholding intimacy with him when she's had one-night stands in the past. And he's like, I'm too nice. I can't believe that I respect your boundary of not wanting to have sex until we're married. I'm just too nice. This temper tantrum that I'm throwing about it, the tears that I'm crying about it, I'm just too nice. I'm like, nice is not the word that we should be using in this particular moment. And KB's like, I had this boundary with you. I have no idea why you're crying now. It's because you got around the boys. And now all of a sudden, your wants and our conversations have completely changed, right? And again, what did we do? We got the ick. The way that Edmond handled that conflict, honestly, I felt like was watching a child throw a temper tantrum. And KB too, she's like, I find this to be manipulative and hurtful. And I know I've watched like the first couple minutes of the next episode, and they seemingly get over it, but I can still tell that KB is like kind of starting to put him at arm's length, which I don't want to be spoilery, but like, I'm not going to be spoilery. The show spoils itself, right? Because we all see who they put in wedding dresses and who they don't. So that's just is what it is. And that leads us to Annie and Nick. You guys. Out of them all, Annie and Nick, I have no words for those two. I have no words for Annie, the salon owner, and Nick, the luxury watch dealer, because these two people are insane. Anyways, Nick is love bombing Kate at first, right? All of the signs are pointing to him picking Kate, but he's also love bombing Annie. And I'm just like the ping pong ball back and forth. Don't know what Nick's going to say now. Don't know what he's going to say now. Don't know what he's going to say now. Don't know what he's going to say now. And he gets in this huge fight with Kate because he's like, I love you. And then he's like, well, I had love for you yesterday. Well, I still have those feelings today, but you just told me that you weren't spiritual because of what happened with your mom. And had I known that, maybe I wouldn't have said I love you yesterday because now I don't. And you're like, huh? What are you talking about? Like, it looks to me like Nick, it was constantly just like scratching around looking for his out with Kate, and he got it in that moment. And then Annie's with Brendan. Is it Brendan or is it Brennan? Brendan. And she's just looking for the first person with the stability. You know, the first person that's going to tell you I love you, that's who she's going to go to. So then Brendan comes back the next day after she's already shut it down. And he's like, oh, but I do love you. And she's like, oh, it's too late. Sorry. I have a feeling that Annie is going to end up with Brendan. Just my feeling. And then there's this other big conversation that's happening right now with the fans and Nick and Annie about the LGBTQ plus fad conversation that they had. It's been a big focal point, a lot of backlash. So Nick gets on his Instagram later to say that the show was heavily editing him. That's what they always say, right? So he gets on his Instagram saying that it was sliced and diced by producers, but he's taking accountability. He's doing work to better understand his blind spots. This is part of a quote. He says, the studio reached out and said, look, tell people that it was cut up and it's meant to agitate, right? That's what he said. The studio people said, it's meant to agitate, which that's alarming, right? And like, I don't know what they chopped up on the cutting room floor. I don't know what they did put in, what they didn't put in. But the fact that people could potentially twist words and manipulate it and change a conversation entirely just to agitate is kind of crazy. And we know that people do it in reality TV and production all the time. But just when it's like in this context, you're like, whoa, that's kind of nuts, right? Now, who knows if he's telling the truth? I don't know if he's telling the truth because like I said, the ping pong that went back and forth with Kate, and who knows, maybe that was sliced and diced too. I just don't know what to make of those two people. I really, truly don't. I truly don't. Bless their hearts. I mean, in the preview, like I said, I think when Annie sees Brendan, she's like, oh, maybe I should have went with Brendan. And I don't think Kate's going to give Nick the time of day, personally. That's my personal opinion, okay? So then we get to Casey and Patrick. Arguably, in episodes 1 through 6, Casey and Patrick, the biggest storyline for a lot of different reasons. You know, Casey wasn't the only person to do this, but Casey was really prying to get the information out of Patrick on what he looked like. And by the time it got to Casey doing it, I was like, there should be some type of rule in Love is Blind where if they ask that question, they're immediately pulled out of the experiment. Because at that point, why are you even here? Especially Casey, who apparently had multiple reality TV offers on a platter, even when she had a boyfriend. It's like, why are you making Patrick tell you his ethnicity? And you could tell that he didn't want to. And I kind of feel like that was the first glimpse of the dynamic between Casey and Patrick, where Casey is very domineering and can get what she wants, you know, if she just continues to push and pry and use sometimes her sexuality or her looks or anything like that to get stuff out of someone like Patrick. And I didn't like it. But that's the whole point. You're not supposed to know what the people look like. Hello? Okay. Not to mention, we have the episode 4, I think it was. You guys. I can't, it's like, honestly, it just makes me sick. Having to hear the atrocity of that conversation that we heard between Patrick and Casey in episode 4. And y'all already know what I'm talking about. I don't even need to tell you a detail. Like, can we bring back some decorum, some decency, some class? This is not your private text messages. This is being broadcast for the entire globe. Okay? They watch it in the Southern Hemisphere. And she's in this interview like, yeah, I really regret it. Someday my kids are going to see that. Hello? A thought you should have had a year ago before you had this lengthy. It wasn't even like one little, quick little, sexy little thing. We had to sit there for what felt like hours. I really felt like I was in a torture chamber, didn't you? I couldn't believe it. And Patrick's like pacing nervously, like has no idea what to do. And I'm like, we have to abort this mission because it's not going to end well. And it clearly did not. You know what I mean? They meet face to face, and you guys know I'm naive. I tell you that all the time, but I can never tell when they meet each other in person. I'm never like, oh, he doesn't like her, or oh, she doesn't like him. I'm always like, oh, they seem to like each other because they always kiss and they hug and whatever. But I could tell. Casey, nope. She kept trying to bury her head. Like anytime they would hug, she would like hide her head, and then she'd like have her eyes closed and she'd just look up for a kiss. You know what I mean? With her eyes closed though, just like look up, chin up. And I'm like, oh, you guys, it's just going to be so bad. And she later said it felt like a stranger was in my arms. So I do think this is interesting because I don't think we've ever heard Love is Blind contestants talk about it like this. Casey's not the second person to say, even when we saw each other, it felt like a stranger, which, like, obviously, right? We've gotten to the point where we realize love is not blind. Do we need to continue the experiment? Because I think the point has been proven. But I couldn't say that I wouldn't feel totally weird. Like walking up to somebody that you've never seen before, and now all of a sudden you're supposed to be like lovey-dovey, goo-goo gaga, I'm going to marry you, we're getting engaged, here's your ring. I've never even seen you in person before, but la-di-da, you know, Taylor Swift la-di-da era. They're just supposed to jump right into it. But then, you know, post-proposal, they're at the hotel, they're getting ready to go to Baja, and Casey is losing it. She's breaking down, she's crying, she says she can't move forward in the experiment because of the TV show, right? That's what she tells Patrick. But we see in a 45 minutes earlier flashback that she says, I just don't think that my attraction can grow to the point it needs to where I could get married to him. And I've read her interviews, you know, she says looking back, she was trying to protect Patrick's feelings. He says, you know, I wish she just would have been a little bit more direct, but she's saying that she can't get this attraction to him, and she's hoojuing, you know, the hug jump, the run, the jump, the wrap the legs around, squeezing, and people are like, this makes absolutely no sense. And she's like, well, it's because I felt safe. I don't care if you feel safe or not. If you're breaking up with this dude because you don't think that your attraction can get to the point where you can marry him, maybe don't straddle him. Just a thought. I'm spicy today. It's because I got the slick back bun. You guys already know. When I put that gel in my hair, it's like something happens to my frontal lobe where my sensitivity just kind of poof, vanishes. I feel like I need to apologize for how sassy I have been today. Within the past however many minutes. You know, Patrick leaves confused, saying, I thought we would keep dating. Casey said that in her little People magazine article where she's like, I thought we would keep dating. We didn't. Patrick says watching it back was hard because it looked like I didn't understand what was happening. And like I said, Casey says, I was trying to protect his feelings. Patrick says he's at peace now, but wishes she had been more direct. I'm looking around this season of Love is Blind, searching, trying to find our pillar of hope and everlasting love. I'm like, where is that one couple that we can really rely on, right? That's going to get to the altar and actually say yes, a solid couple, a Tiffany and Brett, a Johnny and Amy. I'm looking around. They're not here. Like, I don't know. They're not here. There's no solid couple. I see liquid and gas just going everywhere from the men specifically. I mean, more times than I can count, the amount of ick that I got watching episode 1 through 6 from various different men at various different times. The bar is not low. It's underground this season of Love is Blind. It's like, what can we do to protect some of these women? And at this point, our one and only hope for happily ever after goes to Allie and Anton. And honestly, like, haven't really seen a whole lot of them. So I'm trying to convince myself that it's not a fever dream and that they actually are on the show. I've seen them once in 6 episodes, maybe twice. So I also haven't seen them enough to know if they're going to be our happily ever after, right? We could get our rug pulled out from underneath us with that relationship too. And it's like, if anything, it's just made me realize the dating scene must be rough in Denver. And I'm sorry if you're in Denver and that's what you guys got going for you, because this season's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And it's just getting started. Let's move on to our final thoughts. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but huge scare with Dolly Parton. Okay. Her sister, Dolly Parton's sister, got on Facebook and rang the alarm bells, okay, if you know what I mean. Dolly's sister, Frida, she posted this on her Facebook this week. Last night, I was up all night praying for my sister, Dolly. Many of you know she hasn't been feeling her best lately. I truly believe in the power of prayer, and I have been led to ask all the world that loves her to be prayer warriors and pray with me. What does that sound like to you? Do I need to say it? Do I need to spell it out? I don't think that I do. So everybody's like, no, this cannot happen. This cannot happen right here, right now. We're at our absolute limit, okay? If something happens to Dolly Parton, I fear it's going to be a wrap for all of us, quite frankly. So Frida gets back on her Facebook earlier today and she says, I want to clear something up. I didn't mean to scare anybody or make it sound so serious when asking for prayers for Dolly. She's been a little under the weather, and I simply asked for prayers because I believe so strongly in the power of prayer. She says it was nothing more than a little sister asking for prayers for her big sister. Thank you all for lifting her up. Your love truly makes a difference. Now, saying I was up all night praying for my sister and then saying it's not that serious. When it's Dolly Parton, you can't mince the words because, like, what else was anybody going to say? Especially because Dolly Parton, she also has kind of insinuated that she's going through some health problems. So on September 28th, she postponed some of her upcoming Las Vegas tour dates. And she said, as I joked with them, it must be time for my 100,000th mile checkup, although it's not the usual trip to see my plastic surgeon. She says, I just need a little time to get show ready, as they say, and don't worry about me quitting the business because God hasn't said anything about me stopping yet. So people are like concerned, obviously. Well, now Stella, the other sister, is posting on Facebook saying, oh, you guys, I pulled it up. Hold on, I posted it in here. Okay. Yes, I looked up Stella's actual Facebook and had it open in Facebook. But this is what Stella said. She says, my big sister, Dolly, posted last week giving her fans an update concerning her health and that she has been seeking treatment for kidney stones. My sister Frida is concerned and asked for prayers on Dolly's behalf. I personally respect the privacy of all my family members and will not disrespect them by discussing their personal business with anyone. If you need further information, please go to their pages. That being said, those of you who feel the need to attack or insult me because I don't serve as your information booth, you aren't really fans. If you were you would not make such an effort to say some of the hurtful things you posted on my different social media platforms in the past 24 hours. Stella says, I personally appreciate those of you with sincere concerns on Dolly's behalf, and so do many family members. I was not anticipating that this week, the episode of MPT would be me checking the Parton sisters' Facebooks regularly. I was refreshing the pages regularly But look, sometimes duty calls, and that's what you have to do. I feel more knowledgeable that I now know that Dolly Parton has 2 sisters, Frida and Stella. And I believe that we should take them up on it and pray for Dolly and her kidney stones and pray that it's nothing more than that, because you and I both know we couldn't handle anything else happening to Dolly Parton. Okay? So we're just going to leave it at that. Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of MPT. If you want the Bravo stories of the week, the Real Housewives of Miami reunion, we got to talk about Julia and Adriana. We are going to do so on the Patreon on Bravo Friday. We're going to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and Bronwyn's mom. We have so much to discuss. So if you want more, make sure you join. It's patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. We have Bravo Friday, Bachelor Tuesday, and then the Love You Like Assist here. You get everything, which includes Survivor recaps now that Survivor is back. If not, if you haven't left a review, a little 5-star boop boop, a little Love You Like Assist, any review helps, so please do so. If not, I'll see you next week. And as always, love you like assist.